Right. Okay, right. We'll get started. There's a couple of things to go through today, lads. One of the first bit is about fan ducting. So we're getting mixed messages from the NHBC and what the building regs are and what the manufacturers say. So if we're aware of it all, then we can make decisions on site as to what we're going to do. So the first one, if you can see up on the sheet, we've got the NHBC, an excerpt from what's in the NHBC. So it talks about ductwork systems should be designed to minimise the resistance of airflow and be formed from compatible components. It's asking that where possible, we should use rigid ducting. It should be straight and in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendation. Where it's possible to get solid ducting in, however, there's a lot of times when we have to go through the beams and whatever. So this is where we have to use the flexi duct because plumbers have been in and put pipes in, there's beams in the way and stuff. So we end up having to put flexi ducting in. What they're saying here, what did they say, Darren, about how long the flexi ducting should be in the NHPC? It doesn't actually say, does it?
It does. Yeah, it doesn't say a particular length, but when you look at certain manufacturers' information, the general rule is about 6 meters with one bend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that, I know on one of the sites we're working on at the moment, NHBC are letting the lads put up to 5 meters of flexi ducting and minimising in the bends. However, other sites we're working on, they're saying, well, you can only use 1.5 meters of flexi duct. So we've just got to take each one as each site as we see and see what information we're getting from the NHBC. But the NHBC don't actually give any specific measurements. It's the building regs, which we'll come on to later on, that talk about the length of the runs.
All they say is keep it straight, keep the maximum bends to a minimum and what have you.
So when we are fitting ductwork, it needs to be supported, and the official distance apart is 750 millimeters. So Darren's got that up on the screen now. It's highlighted in yellow there. So rigid ductwork, any ductwork really, it should all be supported 750 mil apart. We shouldn't really be using a bit of cable nailed to the beams. We should be using either all-round band or wooden noggins. I think the quickest way to do it is hold it up with all-round band. As the drawings show, we should always put a fan isolator switch in. This isn't so the homeowner can just turn the fan on and off when they want to use it. This is for maintenance purposes, the fan isolator switch.
Yeah, it's to ensure all live conductors are isolated. That includes neutral.
We now move on to the next sheet. This is from the building regs, isn't it? This one does.
It is, yeah.
Right. So it talks about here installation of ventilation systems. Installation of ventilation system. Ventilation systems should be installed to meet both the following conditions. Comply with the guidance for this approved document, not compromise the performance of the system. So this is the one that where we get a bit more information about using flexi ducting. So a rigid duct should be used where possible. Flexible ductwork, where installed, should meet all of the following conditions. Only use for final connections. Length should be a maximum of 1.5 meters. Again, that is, if you look at the previous regulation, it says rigid ducts should be used wherever possible. It isn't always possible, as I've said before, to get it between the beams. So we have to take each job we look at and decide, what's the best way. And generally, when we first start the job, we'll see what the lie of the land is with the site agent and then HPC inspector. Okay, is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
right. It's not as if we just move on now to the fans and the types of fans. This table here talks about the flow rates that we should be achieving with the fans, which when we do the testing, we have to now fill out a fan cert. We actually know that we've tested a fan to a distance of 5 meters with flexi ducting, and we know that it meets the fan rates that it should do. So we do know that fan ducting does work up to 5 metres. So there are two types of fans we use. There are System 1 fan and the System 3 fans. Now, it's becoming more and more that we're using the System 3 fans, which are the constant trickle that boost on the light switch. And if you have a look at the bottom table, this is the flow rates we have to achieve for that. So kitchen is 13 litres a second, utility room is 8, bathroom is 8, and toilets, WCs is 6 litres a second. So these fans are constantly changing the airflow with the trickle in the background, and then they boost on the light switch. The other type of fan what we use, and which is becoming less and less now, is the System 1 fan. So if you look there, the kitchen is looking at, depending on if it's a cooker hood or a fan, you've got 30 or 60 litres a second. Utility room is 30 litres a second. Bathroom is 15 and WCs are 6. But again, I think the only places where we're using these fans at the moment are on the new at home sites. It's now becoming that the builders we're working for are specifying that System 3 fans, they're the flow rates we have to achieve.
It's just important that when you do, other than when you're doing the certificates, you get the correct certificate. And if you're unsure, just ring the office. We've had a few instances lately where a wrong certificate has been completed for the wrong type of fan.
Right, then if we move on to the next sheet, can you get that on? Right, I think there's 5 photographs to look at here. So just looking at how we're attaching the ducting to the fans and to any. So a lot of the times when we go onto site, the builders have put some pipe work through the wall that we have to attach to. So what we're looking at is putting duct tape on the flexi duct onto the actual ducting or the fan. Particularly in lofts, you get a lot of heat up there and the tape tends to fall off. So we need to be then attaching a tie wrap or something to the system just to make sure that tape doesn't come off. A lot of the builders are asking that we put a Jubilee clip on. There's actually no requirement to do a Jubilee clip. It's a mechanical fixing, and a tie wrap more than satisfies that mechanical fixing. The next photograph below that is what's called a fire collar. With particularly 3-storey houses now, and that the regulations are changing slightly. So some of the sites we're working on now, we're expected to put a fire collar in. This would go in at first fix. It would only go into floor spaces. So you wouldn't be expected to put it on the top floor ceiling into the roof space. It would only go where you're into a floor space. So whether it be a first story, second, 2 or 3-storey house. So if it's a 3-storey house, you'd be expected to put the fire collar on the ground floor ceiling and on the first floor ceiling. Again, these fire collars are designed for the fan to slot inside them. You would then attach the flexi ducting to the inside of the fire collar on the fan and install the same way as we've shown in the pictures above. We will let you know where you should be fitting the fire collars, or that's something that me and James will sort out before the job starts. But please be aware this is coming in more and more now. However, certain manufacturers of joists have designed their joists in a way that they don't need fitting. So just don't take it for granted that you do or don't have to fit them. We will bring this into... We will answer these questions, at the start of the job. Is there any questions on that one?
No, that's fine.
No. Right. Okay. I think the main thing for me is when you walk into the house after you've first fixed it, if the fan ducting looks neat, it will get accepted. If it's just thrown in and bent and squashed, and left hanging down below the ceiling height, bugger it, it'll be fine. The plasterboarders will push it up. It is going to get questioned. So I think we just need to have a little bit of due care and attention with it, that it generally, if it looks right, it generally is right. Okay?
Yep.
Right, okay, so that's basically it for the fan ducts. Has anyone got anything they want to add to that? Because before I move on to the next thing I want to talk about.
Are practices needed for fans? Or can we just use plasterboard fixings?
Right. This is a personal preference. My opinion is you put a pattress in because you're always going to be able to. You've always got something to fasten to. Then you've no chance of losing where the fan is when the plasterboard has boarded over it. But it's entirely up to yourselves. I think a pattress looks neater. However, if you cut a nice neat hole and put the plasterboard fixings in, it works just as well. So I have no problem with either of them.
Yeah, I think wherever possible, we should be angling the fan ducting down towards the outside of the building rather than towards the fan to dissipate any moisture that builds up in the ducting as well.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's a good idea. It just keeps any condensation from coming back into the fan. Although the constant trickle fans do, because they've got the constant airflow going through them, they do tend to burn off a bit of the condensation. But yeah, that is also in the building regs, Stuart, that you should angle it towards the outside of the house.
Yeah, it's in NHBC. It says it there.
Right. Okay, so yeah, fair comment. Yeah. Anything else? One of the things has been picked up is that we shouldn't be using the virgin media ducting or the ground workers land drain, or that we should be using where solid ducting's required. We should be using our own proper ducting. I like the idea that we're trying to get away with not having to buy the ducting, but I think it gets picked up on. So where we are doing the solid ducting and we're down to provide it, we will be expected to provide it. Okay, and that's it basically for the toolbox talk on the fans.